Hello, everybody. I am Sucha. I'm a fashion illustrator and artist, and I am gonna be telling you guys how I go about drawing hair. And this is very simplified, so if you're a beginner, this might really help. But also, if you've been drawing for a while, this might still be a good insight on how I draw hair, and this could end up being fun for you. So let's start. You want to treat hair not really as individual strands, but more like shapes. So, map out the shapes that you are seeing in the picture. So I've taken this bob moment for a reference, and I'm just outlining the lines. And here's an afro. I'm very roughly just looking at the shapes right now, not really paying much attention to what individual stray hair strands are doing, but I'm just looking at how the basic shape is. And you're gonna have almost the same principle for shorter hair. And here is Kiki Palmer.
This is Kiki Palmer. This is motherfucking Kiki Palmer.
And I thought this was a great reference for somebody with like a pixie cut. And here's Shawn Mendes, and
It's giving shit.
the same principle. You're just going to find out where the basic shapes lie and try to understand how they wrap around the head. This is just the beginning, so you don't have to put much thought into it, but it still helps if you're mindful about where you're drawing the shapes. Now that we have that out of the way, we can start actually drawing hair. What you're gonna do is you're gonna start with a few basic human heads, because that's the end goal, right? You want to draw hair on humans, and these heads are very stylized with long skinny necks. You don't really have to do it this way. I just like doing it this way. And we're gonna start by mapping out the basic shapes. So what we've learned from the last step is you don't need to pay attention to all the crazy flyaway stray hairs that go here and there. You just need to look at the basic shape. Keep count of how many times I've said shape in this video. So this is a very simple straight hairstyle. We're going to start with straighter hair because it's easier to draw. Straighter hair is just simpler. You can treat it as more aggregated shapes and not necessarily a lot of coiling and curling, which are a little more complex to draw. But hey, we can start with straighter hair, and if we learn how to draw straighter hair, you can actually draw every hairstyle under the sun. If you know how hair works, if you know how lighting works, it gets really easy. We did a ponytail moment, and let's give her bangs. Let's give her bangs so we can see how we can draw bangs. And here's the ponytail. The ponytail looks a little stiff, but let's just say she has a lot of hairspray on her hand. And 2016, 2013 emo hair moment. I don't know what these are called. Whatever they are, this is like a side swept look. I just wanted to have some shorter hair on the page. I like to render and draw hair in the direction that it is growing. So this way for her, and then this is where the ponytail starts from, and this is the direction of the ponytail. The bangs go this way, and then on the lady right here, it's this way. I like to be mindful of the direction of the hair because it's easier to draw it this way and render it this way. Let's look.
How are we supposed to do this? Are we like, which way do you go?
Up and down, girl.
But I've seen people do it left or right.
That's not the right way.
Who said?
Jesus.
Look at shadows. So we're gonna keep two things in mind, which is going to be hair is always darker at the roots and sometimes even at the tips. It's just a more natural look. When you go to a hairdresser, chances are that they will make your roots darker than the rest of your hair, and it just looks more natural that way. So we need to keep in mind that hair is darker at the roots. And two, hair when it's close to your face and your neck, it's darker because those are areas that are more on the inside compared to, say, the top of your head where the light hits. So the hair is going to be darker near your face. So we're just gonna do that now. Let me pick like a darker color, and let's put in some shadows. So on her, the shadows will be around here because that is where the hair rises from, right? That's where the part is. And the hair is going to be darker around the face and neck, so around here. This is behind her face. So this is like the background, the foreground would be her face because we're drawing fashion illustrations and we need her to look pretty. Everybody likes looking at pretty girls in pretty dresses. So here, this is kind of where the hair rises from, even though most of it is hidden by the bangs. And here as well, the ponytail rises from, so it's going to be a bit darker, and that is probably where some of the shadows would be, and I'll just map them out. This is closer to the face, so it's darker. And the same principle goes for shorter hair, right? You can like, this is where the light would be, and for shorter hair the light is here, and you can put the shadows here, and you can put the shadows where the hair starts from, and a little bit on the roots, because it's closer to the face. This does not really stand true if you're getting like your hair completely bleached to like a platinum blonde or like a bright pink. If you want candy floss hair, it isn't going to be this way, but as a thumb rule, it's gonna be a bit darker, and you'll find that it's easier for you to render and understand hair if you make these areas darker. Shadows are important. That is what makes things look 3D. And another thing that makes hair look 3D, or anything look 3D, are highlights. So let me just pick a different brush, I guess. So before we put in the highlights, let's just put in a base color. This is going to be the color of your hair, right? This is going to be the color of your hair, and that was a bit too dark. So this is the color of your hair. It's like a mid-tone pink. I'm doing this in all like a red pink kind of a scheme because I like it. And let's move on to the highlights. So highlights, you need to keep something in mind, that it's not going to be in the direction of your hair. Shadows are going to be in the direction of your hair. Highlights are going to be more of, it's going to be more across to the shape of your head. So like, let me explain it to you. So if the light is hitting from this direction, right, this is where the light source is, and you're gonna pick a lighter color, so your highlights would be somewhere around here. Notice how I'm drawing it across the shape of the head and not necessarily along the direction of the head. So this is where the highlight would be. A little bit on here because a little ambient light, say there's a wall behind her, the light would hit the wall and then hit back to her. So these are advanced shadow concepts. I might make a video on shadows and highlights basics if you want that, and it's actually very simple. And here on the bangs, it's across the bangs and more of an irregular shape because bangs are irregular. Nobody wants like a plaster bangs look. Let's look at how you need to render hair. Like I said, we're gonna treat hair in terms of shapes and not necessarily individual strands. I'm just gonna take like a color off of the palette, and this is, say, a strand of hair, and you don't really need to pay too much attention to it. Just draw a random shape that looks remotely like hair, and I'm gonna pick a darker color and put in some of the shadows. So these are your shadows, right? And then you're gonna kind of blend them out, but what you want to do is you want to do these strokes that like you want to flick your hand, right, and decrease the pressure as you make the line. So if you're working in traditional media, you can just practice doing that, and having some good pressure sensitivity in your stylus really helps too. And once we've put in the shadows, we're gonna go do our highlights. So this was our base color, this was our shadow, so a highlight would be somewhere around here. So let's just do that. It's gonna be an irregular shape. It's across the direction in which the hair is, right? So let's just blend that out. That is like the mid-tone color, and we're gonna blend that out. During blending, what you can do is you can reduce the opacity of your brush, and that really helps in the blending process. Just pick colors which are in the middle of the two colors that you're trying to blend, and it will just start looking like a well-blended look. I highly recommend that you practice doing this, and it's really gonna help. The more you do it, the more acquainted you get to drawing hair. And for me, it has become like really therapeutic sitting and rendering like a lot of hair. A lot of my drawings include a lot of hair, and I often use hair to, frame my drawings and sort of make the subject pop more. And here I'm just drawing a little face so I can show you how my process of drawing hair looks like. All of this quote unquote knowledge that you just received can be a little overwhelming in the beginning, but just know that as you practice it, it's gonna get more streamlined in your head and you're gonna stop thinking about this. I don't think about any of that anymore. I actually had to sit down and think about how I actually do it so I could tell you how I do it. I don't really think about any of this. It comes with practice, and I've been drawing women and hair and clothing for so long now. Uh, and that's, I guess that's kind of the only thing I know how to draw. It's fun. I really love it. I'm just drawing the basic shape of the hair again. Like, we're just following the steps, right? I didn't really use any references for this, but you can see that I started out by drawing a very simple shape of how I wanted the hair to look like. It's a kind of a wavy look, and you don't really need any other skills or information other than whatever I told you to draw what I'm drawing right now. So you can draw along with me, or you can pay attention right now and then draw along with me later, whatever suits you. I put in some basic colors. I did the skin very roughly. This is not the best representation of my work, you guys. You can go ahead and look at my Instagram. I post there quite often, and I love doing recent looks and trendy things because it's fun and I want to be on top of things. And here I just drew like a very basic face. I gave her a lip, and then, for fun, let's just give her glasses. I'm gonna give her glasses. One thing that I didn't really tell you is how to draw stray hair. But to be honest, the stray strands of hair actually are the elements that give life to your hair. Treating it like shapes and putting in your shadows like I'm doing right now can make it look kind of stiff, and it's not going to look very lifelike or graceful. And if you're doing very stylized things, you might want a more flowy look for your illustrations. And the stray hairs are actually what give you that. Apart from obviously drawing dynamic shapes in your sketches, stray hairs can really shorten your working duration and just provide some life to your drawing. But if you overdo it, your drawings can start looking like she was stuck in a storm. But you can do that by being a bit mindful of where you place them. And even if you're drawing a figure in the wind, you need to make sure that all the stray hairs go in the same direction, or it looks like she's stuck in a storm. I am putting my highlights right now. No references, I'm just using the principles I told you right now, and I'm just putting them wherever it feels natural. So the arrow shows you where the direction of the light is, and that is where I put my first highlight, and that will tell me where the rest of the highlights will be. The areas that are closer to the face are darker, the roots are darker, so not much to think about here. You can just start drawing it this way. I took a mid-tone color and I'm trying to blend out my highlights. You don't have to be very clean and tedious about this. Hair is non-uniform, hair is irregular, and you don't need to sit down and render every single strand of hair. You just don't need to do that. Hair doesn't look like that. You can just try and find out the basic shapes. 1, 2, figure out where the shadows are. 3, figure out where the highlights are. 4, place them in the direction in which hair grows. 5, do the highlights across the hair. 6, draw a few pretty stray hairs that make your model look glamorous and sexy. Please, I make no sense right now. So this was the highlight color, in case you were wondering. It's not a very bright highlight. It's not white. Try not to use white. Try not to use black for shadows because that can look a bit muddy. What you want to do is when you're picking a shadow, you want to go halfway to black. So on the color wheel, if I'm using a color at a certain point, I will go halfway towards where black is on the color palette. And for a highlight, I'll go a bit more saturated. Or for hair, I even do desaturated colors sometimes. It just depends on what color the hair is. And I'm filling out the hairline. The hairline is important. And I am putting in some extra pizzazz to the hair by just putting in a few lines, darker and lighter lines, darker and light. I don't know how to speak anymore. I'm putting some darker and lighter lines that make the shape of the hair more apparent. I put a few stray hairs on the left side of the hair, you can see it. And I'm putting in a few more here, a few more highlights. These are just details that give the hair the oomph, you know? And this was the tutorial. This is not how you have to do it. This is just how I had to do it. My friends on Instagram were telling me that I should make a tutorial on how I draw hair. And this is it. This is my process, you guys. And tell me in the comments or DM me or however you want to inform me. Tell me what tutorials you need next. I have tutorials planned on drawing the female body and specifically the torso, and I'll be posting that soon. Stay tuned. I love you guys. Bye.